Hi everyone, welcome to the first video in the Common Concerns Digitization 101 series. My name is Caitlin Oyakun and I am the Archives Director at Densho. This series of 4 videos is intended to help anybody who's trying to start up their own digitization project. I'm going to go over things like the logistics of actually scanning, equipment types, post-scanning processing, backups, all of that good stuff. So over the course of the next 4 videos, we will discuss all of those things. I want to mention here that at Densho, we try and go as much as possible off of archival professional standards and best practices. And we've also just over the last 20 plus years of doing digitization projects, learned some things on our end. So this is how we do it at Densho. Your organization may be a little different, but we wanted to present you with an example of how we did it so that you can then bring it to your own organization and tweak it as you need. All right, so just for this first video, we are going to talk about preparing your digital space. And what I mean is that by kind of how you organize everything on your computer before you get ready for scanning. So kind of like organizing your computer as you would organize your physical space before you pull anything out to start scanning. And yeah, in this video, I'm going to go over 3 main things. The first is going to be naming conventions, which are essential. The second will be creating a foldering system that you will use during the entire scanning process. And third will be creating a metadata template. So first thing I'm going to talk about is naming conventions. And this goes for both your files and your folders. And there is just a certain number of best practices that we like to follow when we are creating our naming conventions. The first and most important is definitely consistency. It's really important that everybody's on board, everybody understands how you name files and folders, and that everybody follows it consistently. This helps if you have multiple people working on a project, or if you put a project down and come back to it months, years later, you'll know what's going on. The second is content. You want the name to be descriptive and easily understandable, and you don't want to get too complicated. So you should be able to look at the name and kind of understand from just looking at that name what it is in that folder or what that file is. Order, and you can go general to specific, specific to general if you'd like, just be consistent. Language, that's more about using consistent terminology. At Densho, we have certain file types that we create, and we always name them the same things, which is master and mezzanine. So we'll go a little more into that, I believe, in video number 4, but just try and use the same terminology across the board. Length, try and keep it to 25 characters or less is preferable. You don't want them to get too long. And delimiters, we use underscores and we avoid periods, commas, and spaces. If you add these things into your file name, then you might get a corrupt file down the line. And then finally, these last 2 are special characters. Really try and avoid special characters when at all possible. I've put some examples here in the PowerPoint that you can look at, but it's really best practices not to include them in your names. And then dates and times, you just want those to be consistent. Decide how you want to format them and then go from there. Here we use numerals. In this example, you can see it's the year 2022, the month 09, and then the date 25. So this really helps in sorting when you use a consistent date. Yeah, so those are the best practices. I'm gonna go switch over here and show you some concrete examples of what I mean about Densho's naming conventions. Here I have the folder where I keep all of my scanning projects, and you can see here we use last name, first name as the base for all of our all of the files that we create. So I have 3 projects that I'm working on scanning. This is actually Kandeji Demoto, Kenji Ima, and Kimiko Fuji Kitayama. And that same root beginning will be included in all of the files and all of the folders that I create related to these scanning projects. So just a little example for you, and you'll see more of this as we move along and go through the different videos. Now I want to talk to you about setting up your folders. So I've already got my Windows folder viewer open here. And the thing you want to decide when you're setting up your folders initially is you want to look at your organizational structure and understand what your organization's like central computer storage system is. Here at Densho, we use servers and Google Drive, and everybody has access to all of those. So I always try to store these materials in a place where everybody within the organization can access it. You'll all be different, but that's something to think about. You don't want some folders on one person's computer, some folders on another person's computer, so that not everybody can have access. So all of my folders are created on our servers and can be accessed through one folder, which is the historical materials scan. And I keep everything in this folder before I begin a project and as I'm working on a project. And you can see here, I'm going to talk to you about the Kenji Ima collection. So I have this one main folder for everything that I do. And if I open it up, you can see within that folder, I have 3 additional subfolders. One's documentation, the other is masters, and the other is mezzanines. Documentation is for any sort of miscellaneous, PDFs, Word docs, something that you might get from the donors related to that collection. Masters is going to be all of the raw scans or images that I take of the materials that I'm scanning. And then mezzanines are going to be derivatives made from those masters. And again, this will be discussed more in video 4. So don't worry too much about it right now. Just know I have a common set of folders that I set up for each project at the very beginning, so they've got them ready to go. So pretty easy, nothing too complicated. It's just better if you've got these set up and ready to go when you start scanning. And then the third thing that I'll talk to you about really quickly is the document that's essential at Densho for anything we're doing with scanning, which is our metadata template. The metadata template, let me share this with you so that you can see what I'm talking about. This is our metadata template. All of these fields are used in our digital asset management system, and they're based off of archival standards and Dublin Core in terms of what we're capturing when we're creating digital objects. So anytime I have a new collection, I'm going to open up my template. And this way I know that everybody's working off of the same baseline spreadsheet. So I open this up and I just go in and I save a new copy in the correct folder, which would be within Kenji Ima's collection. And then I will just change the title, Ima Kenji _ metadata. So again, you can see that I Ima Kenji _ metadata, got my baseline to my naming convention, and then underscore, and then add metadata to describe what it is that people are looking at. So the reason that I set this up before I start scanning is because there is a lot of information that we capture while we are scanning. Most importantly, scan ID. Again, this is a naming convention that you need to decide on, but here we use, again, your root naming convention is Ima Kenji, and then the underscore is your delimiter, and then we just number it 1 through however many things that you're scanning. So we capture that here. We capture things like the, like the physical description. So we measure the object, digitizer, the institution, the date, and the technical details, which is the scanner we're scanning on and the software we're using to scan it. And then, of course, we have any notes at the very end. And this is if you come across anything as you're scanning that you will need to remember later on when you're processing, you can write them in there. So this is our main way that we hold all of our information about any materials we're scanning. And we create these spreadsheets for every single new project that we're working on. And yeah, I think that's about it with the metadata spreadsheet. Let me go back to the PowerPoint real quick. And yeah, so we've gone over 3 things today in setting up your digital space, deciding on your naming conventions, creating your set of folders for starting a project, and then creating your metadata spreadsheet, which will be the root of all of the information that you're going to create in terms of metadata about your scans. And yes, thank you for taking the time to watch this first video. In the next video, video number 2, you will see more about setting up your physical space. So looking at actually cleaning and bringing your collections out and how to handle them and that type of thing. So if you would like to contact us, here is our contact information. And I hope to see you at video number 2. Thank you.